My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
We are back once again. It's been 3 live streams for me today with the 2 finals in Indian Wells, offering up different finals of different levels of excitement, I would suggest. The women's final, I've seen a lot of people gushing about this on Twitter, and I didn't feel as though it was that high quality, Brenna, but you may well side with Christian's Court, for example, and I think Vanch as well. Both of them were effusive in their praise of the final that we've just seen in Indian Wells. But and it is obviously going to be related very much to Miami, and so I will then lead us into the draw there. But what do you think? Was it the best women's 1,000 final, the second best one of the decade? I think Vanch described it as, and Vanch was like, and Christian's Court put out a tweet which was something along the lines of, he said like the number of winners to unforced errors that Rybakina achieved, and also she won 70% of her second serves, and his take was like, that shows you just how good this final was. But watching it, I found Sabalenka's movement seemed to be limited in the first couple of sets, partly I think because of the heat, and I think it affected both players at times in those early stages. And it wasn't until the crescendo, which we'll all remember in years to come, and that will be how the match, when I actually do think both players were playing a really good level. Maybe Sabalenka being a bit tight, serving out, helps bring the drama. And then I think even there was a bit of tightness maybe from Rybakina at 5-all. But the way Sabalenka saved that championship point. But anyway, come back to my point. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I a bit right? Am I a bit wrong regarding that final?
Yeah, I'd say a bit wrong, a bit right. I think the last 30 minutes definitely encapsulate the drama-esque, like why it belongs in that conversation. But in a sense, I don't think you're wrong, because the first, we'll call it hour 45, and who knows, like that could have been straight sets for Rybakina too. Mm-hmm. So
she was up a set in a break. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that's where if you put the match together, post set 1 and even post 1-0 in that second set for Rybakina, it does have its exciting moments, and it's like it's worthy of that conversation just because of that drama. Like you said, first it's Sabalenka failing to serve it out, right? It's also Sabalenka's first Indian Wells title, and it's a rematch of the Australian Open final. So I think going off recency and kind of understanding we're dealing with the top of the women's game on the 5th biggest stage, as some would say, on tour. So I think it's definitely fair to put it in that conversation, because the players, the heightened circumstances, and then just the last 30 minutes, right? Really, really good tennis, I think, from both sides. And yeah.
Rybakina is now going to be world number 2. But of course, it doesn't impact the Miami draw. It'll be impacting draws later on in a few weeks from now, assuming she holds on to that number 2 status. So Iga, for now at least, keeps that number 2 seed status, and therefore at the bottom of the draw. I was just having a quick look to see who Rybakina could potentially play. I've got Ann Lee as a possible first match for Sabalenka. Of course, they won't be in action, I wouldn't have thought, until Friday or Saturday, probably, in Miami. So that's sort of, because obviously they need a bit of a break. Haven't played today. I'm just seeking. Is Rybakina in the same half of the draw potentially? I think she is. She is in the same half of the draw as Sabalenka. So they can't meet in the final in Miami, but it could be in the semifinals. In fact, some might say probably in the semifinals. But all right, let's get into the Miami draw and see how this is all impacted. The top sort of section is as follows. We've got Sabalenka in a group along with Ann Lee, McNally, and Wong. I think that's nice for Arena. I mean, when you're number one in the world and you're playing as well as she is and has done for 15 months solid now, where she just basically turns up at a big tournament and either wins it or comes very, very close to winning it. I can't remember, maybe Rome last year, but I can't remember many big titles at 1,000 level or above, and Middle East series a year ago aside, where she hasn't just turned up and either won the thing or very, very close to winning it in the last, 15 months.
Seriously, you're spot on there. I think it's important to note, John, as you did say, they might not be playing till Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
In the final, but the forecast looks terrible in Miami, I think.
Oh, and it has been today. I want to actually break that. Sorry.
Yeah,
all qualifiers got halted today because of the rain. So they're going to be a little bit behind schedule.
Right. But anyway, back to that little quarter, or we'll even put it into a smaller subsection. You do have some big hitters, right? You got Keys waiting there, potential round of 16 match.
Oh, really? Sabalenka Keys, round of 16.
Yeah, you got Wang there as well. Big hitter, good on the slicker courts. Qinwen Zhang, who we'll see, still adjusting to being back on tour. And but yeah, I mean, it's like at least some people to watch out for.
I mean, Sabalenka, I'm optimistic, assuming everything's okay, health is fine, and weather doesn't disrupt her too much, and travel, all the rest of it. I think she's making that round of 16. And of course, she didn't drop a set in Indian Wells until today's final. And I would imagine she'll get to the round of 16 without dropping a set. Who is the one we're going to have come? Because I'm assuming you're going to have her in your last 16. Who do you think is the one? Because I think I know who I've got as my most likely to make the round of 16 from this group of players.
Just in that top subsection to play her?
Yeah.
I think it should be Keys.
Oh, really? Okay. I've got Qinwen Zhang.
Okay.
Yeah.
How come? Is there something that convinced you?
Yeah, it's because Madison Keys for me has been not really playing amazingly well by her, where her level is at, the ceiling that she reached in Australia and the unbeaten run that she had for I don't know how many matches it was through the early part of last year until Indian Wells. I know she skipped the Middle East, so it wasn't a super lengthy unbeaten run, but it was a decent run that she had before she lost the semi-final last year to win. She won a set, I think, off Iga 6-love in Madrid, so there was little sparks there. But, I mean, it was this time last year, really, when Madison Keys, losing to Alex Eala, of course, when her season kind of, was... I don't think we saw anything again from her that came anything close to Australia or even anything close to what I believe is her natural place that was obviously deservedly in the top 10. I mean, I remember going into the WTA finals with Madison Keys last year going, she's the probably biggest outsider, and it proved that way. I think she was struggling maybe a bit physically in that tournament as well, to be fair to her. She's slipped now to obviously outside the top 10. Qinwen Zhang, on the other hand, I think is still easing her way back on the tour after a lengthy spell out injured. And I think this is a nice time for her to have a decent-ish run. She's still obviously seeded, and I think she beats Brady or Stevens. Again, Brady is someone who's obviously been off the tour for a long time. Stevens, I can't remember the last time she had a good run at any tournament. Probably 18 months or so or more. So that should be a win for her. And then she comes up against presumably Madison Keys. But Rucic is getting some wins, so who knows? Rucic in the second round, she could beat Madison. But let's go with Qinwen Zhang. I would like to see their head-to-head, actually, because that could well make me embarrassed or change my mind. If it's like...
Well, it's important to note, we were already talking about it, but there's a lot of, repeat sections.
Okay, it's 3. Wait. Sorry, go on.
Like Indian Wells and Rucic. Zhang was a first-round match. Well, second round. A round of 64 in Indian Wells. So we'll see who is going to play that round of 32 match there. And presumably the winner would take on Sabalenka.
So it's 1-0 for Madison. So nothing to write home about or anything to dismiss the chances of Qinwen winning that encounter.
I'll quickly say why I like Keys. A little bit of not necessarily bias. I just got to watch her, from 20 feet away, her match against Cartel, and everything looked fine to me. I think it was frustrating to play Cartel on that night. Slower conditions. These balls, man, they got so chewed up. Is it going to be the same balls in Miami? I don't know.
But I know Mert is coming on the show tomorrow. We're going to do ATP Weekly together, him and I. And he is keen to talk about tennis balls, and he's been talking to me about this for a few weeks. He keeps sending me pictures, so I'm interested to know what he wants to get off his chest.
Interesting.
But it might impact Miami, and I would imagine because they've changed balls. They used to use, I'm going to say they used Penn, didn't they, in Indian Wells in years gone by, and they've just changed to Dunlop. Is it?
Yeah,
and I think it's a Dunlop image that Mert sent me today, and he's also sent the similar image in the past. And he's keen to talk about them. So I think it's about the way they deteriorate.
Right. It's ridiculous. And even funny enough, Craig Shapiro, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He actually was practicing with Gil Gross just for fun before today in Phoenix. And he was kind of showing a close up. And he's like, even like a 4-5 level, 45 minutes of good hitting. And these balls are getting really big. But anyway, I took a lot of positives from the Madison Keys match, despite the loss. I thought the conditions were kind of perfect for Cartel. And her defensive style produces a lot of revolutions, kind of got outside the Keys strike zone. I think the courts are a little bit better in Miami for Keys. And yeah, she just looked like she was, kind of finding herself, and the ball striking is still like really, really impressive. Obviously, you think of her as such a big hitter, so just to see it live in person, I was pretty wowed by it. So yeah, we could have a couple good matchups there early on in the top section.
What about just going back to these round ones? I just want to have one round one of all of these. I think the Brady Stevens one, with obviously Brady making an Australian Open final a few years ago, and Sloane Stevens being a US Open winner. Of course, a lot of the qualifiers are a long way from being placed, so we'll have to wait for those matches to be established. So we've actually only got, from these first two sections, we've got Brady Stevens and Rusa Rucic. Do either of those two? I mean, the Brady Stevens one has the romantics and the, hoping that maybe Sloane can have one last big run in her career, perhaps, and who knows, that could be in Miami. Jen Brady, would love to get back to her level, but it's a long time to be off the tour. I'm going to see what their head-to-head is, but I don't even know how relevant that is. I'd be more interested to know their health and also their motivation as well. I think both of those factors, particularly I think for Sloane, I think Brady's probably definitely motivated. I mean, she wouldn't be on the tour given all the injuries she's had if she wasn't. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that match?
Yeah, I'd say I'd come a little bit more on like the critical side if I were to kind of analyze it from that aspect. You do have to kind of celebrate, two impressive American players, both getting wild cards this event for a reason. But I would say I'd agree with you. I'd say Brady a little bit more motivated. I would it's hard to say like who's gonna win this, but I would lean Brady taking this. And yeah, just from like a motivation perspective, Sloane Stevens should feel in similar spots. Like really not many things going well for her in like the tennis side of things. And, she did push herself to make this return and try and play good tennis again. But I don't know. It's just like low margin tennis for me a bit. And I think that kind of chalks it up to just like getting wins is a lot more difficult in that sense.
Yeah, it is. They've actually never played each other before.
Really?
Yeah, never played. At least on the big tour, on the main tour, they haven't. Obviously, Sloane, a former world number 3, Jen Brady getting to number 13 in the world. I actually honestly wasn't even sure on Jen's age, just because of her spending so much time off the tour. Sometimes you assume that means that someone's a little bit further down their career, but she's still 30 years old. So if she had a year of good health, who knows what results she could have achieved. She lost, I see, in the opening round to Rucic. So who knows, they might end up playing against each other again soon-ish, but they don't both have to win a couple of matches. So I think that would be a big ask for Rucic to beat Rusa and then Keys, and plus Jen Brady to beat Sloane Stephens and Qinwen Zheng. So I do think Keys Zheng is the most likely matchup we'll get in that third round. But 30 years old, Jen, barely been on. I mean, she got the Australian Open in 2020, I think, was it? Or 2021, one of those 2 years. Australian Open final. I'm going to check it right now so I don't get that wrong. Those 2 years often blend into one. It was 2021, I think she made the final, actually, losing to... Who'd she lose to in that final? Naomi Osaka, Jen Brady, Naomi Osaka 2021 straight sets. She beat Mukova in the semis, Pegula in the quarters. So it was a pretty good run, obviously 3-set wins as well. But it's been, I don't know how many matches she's played since then. Honestly, it could in 5 years, because it does. I do think her injury started to strike her not long after that.
Right.
She had spells out injured.
I'll also note, not that it means too much, but back into the motivation category, Jennifer Brady being on this podcast, the Players Box, I heard her talk a little bit about her injuries and attempting to come back, and obviously you can hear the motivation in her voice, but just being friendly, present with other top American players, I think that pushes you a little bit more, and she's obviously dedicated herself to making a comeback, and so.
Yeah, I also, one positive as well regarding the podcast and a few other bits and pieces, she doesn't seem to have been too perturbed, or maybe privately she's been down about it, but certainly publicly seems to be all right, seems to be in a good spot for someone who was obviously, in the peak of her moments and the best moment of her career, and then soon the rug was pulled from under her. But yeah, I'm actually going to go for a Brady win. I think the motivation thing, I think Sloane is, maybe in a similar way where Madison Keys is, albeit that Sloane's first Grand Slam, which of course came against Madison Keys at the US Open, was the best part of 10 years ago, whereas Madison obviously finally got over the line last year in Australia. But I think both of them are just both in a pretty good spot. They'll keep playing, they'll keep hitting. Sloane may yet have one more big run in, as I suggested, and I think Madison for sure may well end up winning a 1,000 title before she's done. But I also feel that both have ticked all the tennis boxes that they need to, and probably felt pressure to when they first started out. And in a way, it can be an Arina Sabalenka situation where it propels you to even bigger and better things, or it can be a sort of a Dominic Thiem scenario where it's like, oh, thank goodness I've done that. Maybe I can still enjoy the last years of my career, but at least I've got that one slam, albeit that I think Thiem's sort of latter years was also born out of frustration, because I think he was desperate to keep going, but confidence and wrist injuries, etc., wasn't sort of able to deliver. Anyway, let's move on, because we've done a lot already and we're only a few percentages way through the draw. So let's scroll down.
Yeah, well, breaking news out of the bystander in our comments. Jinyu Wang has withdrawn, and so has Emma Navarro. So
okay. Good to know, because we will be getting to them, especially Emma anyway, shortly. I mean, I wonder what Emma's situation is, because she lost her first round in it last week. Maybe she's been carrying an injury of sorts. Who knows? And maybe she needs some time off. But if she was carrying that injury, I'm surprised she played the 1-2-5 last week. So
right,
maybe she's just like, you know what, I need a reset. And if that means having a few weeks off the tour or longer, maybe get back to the practice court, something like that. Yeah.
Don't mind it.
Right, back to the draw anyway. Where are we? I think I've lost it. Oh, here we go. So down to the next section, which is Svitolina's mini section, at least to begin with. Svitolina, of course, had a good run last week into the semifinals in Indian Wells. Baptiste, Samsonova. I think there's some banana skins here. Baptiste, obviously the only person to take a set off Rybakina before the final, bizarrely enough, in a way, because I think it was Rybakina's first match. Samsonova, on any given day can beat probably most tennis players on the planet, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4. Yep. So I don't like this section much for Svitolina, even if I do think that she's playing really good, solid tennis at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's very clustered with high-level ball striking. As you mentioned, I mean, Baptiste is there, but Ostapenko right below there. Ashton Crew, this is a tough little section here. Do I lean anyone? No, I wouldn't be surprised if Ostapenko does something though. I know you're only showing that little top
Yeah, I
half,
can have a
but
look at the next section. Yeah. I mean, she was close, Ostapenko, to
very
beating.
close.
Very close, exactly, to beating Pegula, wasn't she? She was up a set and a break, and not just a set and a break. It wasn't quite like, so Rybakina's set in the break today was 1-love in the second set, and then she got broken back immediately. In fact, Arena broke again and won 4 games in a row. So it didn't quite feel like it. And whereas Ostapenko was 4-3. So
Right.
2 holds and she wins the match. But as soon as she got broken, wheels coming off is a bit of an exaggeration, especially considering I've seen the wheels come off Ostapenko a lot of times in the past. And actually, it was just great tennis from Pegula. Yeah, I think Ostapenko in this section here, although Yastremska, I mean, obviously she lost to Eala in 3 close sets in Ayala's opening match, which would have been the second round in Indian Wells. But Eala seems to be out at just about frustrate Yastremska for long enough to draw the errors. Yastremska against Ostapenko, well, that would be lights out and a lot of fun potentially. It has the potential for being the match of the tournament. But yeah, it's not if you're going to be in a section with the top 8 seed, Paolini is probably the one you're choosing right now.
Totally. It's still, I don't know if I lack confidence. It's just, it's one of those game styles where it really puts a lot of pressure on Paolini to, just continue to make balls, make the opponent work for it. Just yields a lot of consistency. I did really enjoy, I'll do this little footnote, I did really enjoy watching Irani and Paolini. I watched their doubles match where they came back. They were down a set and 4-love, I think it was.
Okay.
Or maybe a set and 3-love. That was a really fun dynamic. Obviously, they ended up losing, but they ended up coming back and winning that match, which was epic. So it was fun to watch Paolini play a little doubles and just the risk taking kind of confidence in those baseline battles. Though it definitely comes out. But yeah, I think you're right about having a top 8 seed in your section. You'd want it to be Paolini.
Yeah, you would. Just coming back to this draw here, I want to go back up a second for just a moment. Baptiste, okay. So we're probably looking at Svitolina, but as I say, Baptiste, Samsonova, but I probably, just because I'm not sure, I'll end up. And I think I like what you say about Ostapenko. I can have an Ostapenko emerging from this section, and therefore we'll have Ostapenko against Svitolina, at least for me. Are you going to go Ostapenko, Svitolina?
Yeah, I like it. And I'll quickly add, it would be quite a fun if we got a Taylor Townsend Ostapenko matchup. And
yeah,
because of the drama that occurred at the US Open.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And that could happen. Of course, we don't know who the qualifiers will be just yet, but and I also think that, I say Svitolina, not because she's not playing well, but you can't just always win tennis matches and always emerge from your section. And although I think she's very consistent, and therefore I would just lean their way, I do think Baptiste and Samsonova may have something to say about it. Maybe even Samsonova in particular, but we'll see. Okay, let's scroll down, and we've got Rybakina. Here's her section, as I say, top half of the draw. So her and Arina Sabalenka are on course to meet in the semi-finals rather than the final. She's going to be propelled, I think, to world number 2 tomorrow, Rybakina, but it hasn't come in time to help her move up the seedings yet. So she's seeded 3. Tjen, Putintseva. Tjen, I don't think is in a great spot at the moment. I remember seeing a YouTube short from Eddie from Tennis Asia TV where he said, are we sleeping on Janice Tjen? I think she'd won a couple of matches that particular week. But I remember seeing she's about to play Anisimova. And I thought she's going to get easily beaten by Anisimova. And that's exactly what happened. So I just thought it was the wrong time for Eddie to release that video, or bad luck in a way. Because actually, since then, I'm not even sure she's won a match. And she's also had some not great losses. The one to Camilo Osorio in Merida was quite uncomfortable because she was up a double break in the first set, but she didn't like the wind, and it wasn't helping her slice at all, and it wasn't helping her big forehand either. And Osorio was just smiles all the way, and she wins a load of games in a row in the first set. Tjen's up a break in the second, and it doesn't work out well. I think I saw Tjen's first match in Indian Wells. Yeah, Christian. Third set tiebreak. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago almost now. And I just felt that mentally, I thought Tjen was going to maybe just not quite make it from having won the first set and having chances in sets 2 and 3. But yeah, I'm not in a good spot right now, Janice, I don't think.
I think that's a fair analysis, John. I think it's still a game that's a work in progress. I think given kind of like the slice, just like how
I think there's a lot of work to be done. And listen, she's a great fun player to watch. And maybe that slice in the future will become a weapon. But right now, it's not a weapon exactly. It's more, hopefully this slice will give me a nice forehand.
Right. It's just kind of like unsettling to your opponent to see it so often, especially on the women's tour. Not hit it. The players just don't hit it as much on the men's tour. I also say, like, still an adjustment period, John. Like you said, you're analyzing the form at the moment and kind of the situation, but kind of going back maybe in that 16-month range where some crazy record, right, from the ITF level all the way to the main tour. Her record was like 120 and 18 or something, So I think there's still like an adjustment period of adapting to just a higher level of tennis on a more consistent basis and going up against, bigger weapons.
Yeah. And there's that Christian result I was just referring to. So it's a couple of losses in a row, obviously Osorio and Christian. And yeah, I think people maybe thought she was going to win both of those matches, but didn't turn out that way. Coming back to Miami and her first round draw here, she's going to come up against Putintseva. And I think that's a tough one for Janice.
Yeah, that's a lot of variety getting thrown at you. Definitely different heights, different spins. But I guess in her, if we're looking at it positive, Miami, just a little quicker, lower bounce surface, might get a little bit more use out of the slice.
I don't think they've played each other before. I'm going to have a look on the WTA website. But Putintseva as well, her form seems to... I remember her getting a few wins, including a great one over Zeynep Somez in Australia. Yeah. And she was someone last year who I think her form was scratchy. So I think she's turned a corner of sorts. Yeah, they haven't played before, Tjen and Putintseva. But yeah, Putintseva's form, just having a quick look at that, I feel as though she has, as I say, turned a mini corner, having had a rough spells last year. Yeah, she lost to Clara Tauson in Indian Wells. There's no shame in that. And having beaten, it's a tough draw, by the way, her getting Badosa in the round of 1-28 and then playing Tauson in the next round. And the Tauson loss, yeah, I remember this one. Yeah, the first set tiebreak, 11-9. And then she just about faded away in that second set. And the wind was really difficult. I think she struggled more than... I think both players struggled with it. But she struggled just that little bit more than Clara did in that second set. And but it is a match that could easily have gone 3 and could easily have gone Putintseva's way. And I'm feeling better about her form now. And especially that Australian Open run, I think, was important for her. Getting to the fourth round there, albeit an 0-1 loss to Jovic there. But the wins over Sonmez and Siegemund and had admired before that, I think, have put her year on a decent footing. And also she had some good wins as well in Adelaide before that, where she had to come through qualifying, beat Gauff as well before losing to Nevada, which hasn't aged well as a loss, I don't think. But yeah, got wins in Brisbane too. So she's got I think pretty sure she's got a positive win-loss record for the year. And I think she beats Tjen because of all the reasons I've just laid out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair analysis. Yeah, not much more to say on that. I don't know if we looked at this subsection or we're currently evaluating it, but potential Kostyuk Rybakina rematch.
Yeah, definitely we are. I'm interested in subsections, definitely. Yeah. Kostyuk Rybakina. I think it happens. Don't you?
Yeah. Was this Kostyuk's first tournament back, or did she play
since when?
Since I don't know.
She didn't play Indian Wells.
No, she didn't play
Indian Wells.
She didn't play. I'm saying, was Indian Wells her first tournament.
Okay, since Australia, yeah.
Australia, yeah.
So she missed the Middle East section. But that's not too long a timeout, and
Right.
and she had at least a couple of matches, and she lost to Rybakina 4-4. So
Yeah, but it was very competitive. I think she might have led by a break or found
yeah,
herself breaking back in that
sounds
second
familiar.
set.
She had a good win over Taylor Townsend in the first round as well.
Right. So, yeah, should get that again. And once again, Kostyuk, someone I highly respect on the WTA tour, and I put her in my top 10 year-end rankings. Obviously, the injury doesn't help me much, but just a player who's always gonna compete and push those, we'll call it the top 4, top 5 players on tour and give them a run for their money. Just very, very competitive, super athletic player, and she has the weaponry and fitness to compete against the best.
The Rybakina of pretty much sort of last year and maybe even the year before, I would have said, you know what, after an excellent start to the year, winning this tournament, doing well here, she might just have a dip, and that dip might come against Kostyuk, and she'll still be pretty happy with herself and, obviously head back to Europe for the clay season, etc. I just think that she's just a little bit more consistent, or a lot more consistent her run from October last year, when she was winning all those matches in a row to get herself to the WTA finals and then wins every match there. I think I looked at her, Pegula, and Sabalenka, their form over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 months, and drawing a line in the sand, not always at the same tournament. I think Sabalenka's I drew the line at Cincinnati, whereas with Pegula, I looked at all the semifinals that she was making, and Rybakina, I started post US Open, but basically both players playing 30 or 40 matches, and it was clear that Sabalenka, despite the fact that Pegula kept getting to semis and even finals, it was clear that Sabalenka and Rybakina's form was even better, because I think they were winning like 28 out of 31 matches or 27 out of 30. This is going into the final, I think, today, or might even be the semifinals. But they had an incredible run, and that run has still kind of continued. And I just feel a bit more confident in Rybakina's sustainability, I guess, right now, and ability to keep going.
Yeah, no, it's been impressive. And even this tournament, maybe not on paper close matches in terms of scoreline, but a lot of these matches, even back to the Kostyuk match, very, very tight, small margins, but she's just finding a way to get it done. Even that Pegula match, it felt like she was kind of playing catch up that whole second set. Obviously a breadstick in the first, but just fighting tooth and nail, got the break back. You get to the breaker and just plays the point so solid. And there's not much drop off in her game. And that's the thing. When you're so, let's say, when you're not willing to show a lot of emotion, your level just doesn't vary much. And that's just so difficult to play against. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Well, this is a very interesting section. So this is obviously potentially Rybakina's opponent, if we are going for Rybakina to emerge the winner over Kostyuk. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But this is a fascinating section, given the depth of talent. I would say you've got Osaka, Bejlek, and Jovic, 3 players that are sort of all knocking on the door of WTA 1000 semifinals, I think, for different reasons. Jovic's potential is off the charts, and I think she's had a little wobble. I thought her loss to Osorio was a bit like some of these Janice Chen losses I spoke about. Jovic put herself in positions to win, and maybe her inexperience, having not been through tough mental challenges, at least at the top end of tennis, as yet. And I think Osorio put her in positions that she didn't feel comfortable with. And I did think, as it went into that third set, I thought Jovic would lose. I think she went down an early break. It was a double break. She gets one of those breaks back, but eventually Osorio gets over the line. But the way she lost that was a bit uncomfortable, in terms of the fact that I think she may even have had a match point, and that came and went. She certainly had chances to win that match. And when you have chances to win the match and you don't end up winning it, or you end up going through that third set and you're going through some not comfortable emotions, and I think we might see a hangover from that going into this tournament. So actually, the interesting ones are Bejlek and Osaka for me. Bejlek is actually on a winning run, and yet she didn't play Indian Wells. But Bejlek's winning run is, I don't know, 6, 7 matches, I think, because she withdrew, you see, from her match
In Dubai.
In Dubai, exactly.
Yeah, walkover, I guess, over Ben.
Yeah, exactly. So she wins her she won her 2 qualifiers, I think. Yeah, 2 qualifiers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches in Abu Dhabi, and then 8 beating Sonmez as well, which is a really good win, by the way, in the opening round of 64 in Dubai before giving Bencic the walkover. So the problem with her is where are we at in terms of her health and reps on the court. But yeah, I mean, she's in the conversation for player with, who's going to be bursting onto the sort of top 10 scene soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got Badosa there too, who for me, a little bit tough to evaluate because I haven't watched her. And obviously she did have a good run in Austin, the 125K in Austin that was. Lost to Andreescu in that semifinal. But yeah, once again, just very, it's packed. And Osaka, playing better tennis as we saw. So good conditions as well for Osaka, I feel.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Osaka.
I am too.
To emoji here. I think Bejlek might well win her first match, but Osaka and just because it's sort of her first tournament back, Bejlek's not a huge amount of time out injured, but it's her obviously back in she's in North America, wasn't in Indian Wells, and Osaka's form's pretty good. She got a couple of wins in Australia, although I think I did see in those performances a little bit of sluggishness actually for Naomi, but I think that was then explained when she pulls out the tournament hurt. But she did quite well in Indian Wells. I did expect her to lose to Arena, and that did turn out that way, but it was competitive. So, and Arena's best player in the world. So yeah, I'm going to have Naomi Osaka to play Rybakina in this section.
I like that. Be a fun matchup.
Yeah. All right. Let's scroll down. Alexandrova is in this section, but her form, I know she got to a final, but I think that was a nice-ish draw. I know she had Eala, but Eala, I think, was really struggling physically by the time she came up against Alexandrova in that match. But she got to a final, didn't she, not long ago in the Middle East, in maybe Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, it was.
Abu
she
Dhabi,
played Bejlek, yeah.
Yeah, so that only included 3 wins, because obviously she got just had 3 wins there from the round of 16, I think. Round of 32 match. But
went out to Ostapenko in straights and
so she did beat she won 4 matches.
Lost to Lynette.
Yeah, right. Her form. And to be honest with you, before that, I went into the Australian Open and I went, Sonmez has probably beaten her. I looked at Sonmez's pre-Australian Open results. I looked at Sonmez in qualifying, and I looked at Alexandrova's performances, and also just felt that there might have been an edge lost. She just broke into the top 10, didn't she? Aged 31 at the back end of last year. It's sort of a huge achievement, and sometimes it's difficult to keep going. Maybe to some extent we've seen that with Emma Navarro, and we see it for different reasons with Madison Keys with a different landmark with winning a slam. But it's difficult to keep that going. And I also think that there was just a window for her to get in that top 10, and she took it. Great. Well done. Is she somebody that I expect to win Grand Slams? No. Is she somebody to win WTA 1000s? Maybe, but not sure. So I just think that was a great moment for her to make the top 10. And I don't know if we're going to see her back in the top 10 anytime soon. So I'm not sure about her right now. Who else have we got in here? Cartal, injury dependent. Stearns. Yeah, she won a tournament, didn't she, recently in
Austin? Yeah,
in Austin, just before the for Indian Wells, but maybe not too bad a draw there. And then Raducanu. Did you see Raducanu's match with Anisimova?
I went to the second set, and it was over. It was over in 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, right. So you've seen those two play twice now in consecutive years. Like you saw me.
I was having deja vu, John. I don't think I reached out to you because also. Maybe I did reach out to you because guess who played as well? Rybakina and Baptiste.
Okay, yeah.
They played a year ago in Miami, so I was like, oh my
gosh. The Raducanu one you saw a year ago was in Miami, right? Against
Anisimova. And Anisimova was a little bit hobbled, let's say. I think her ankle was hurting her.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she took an MTO, I remember, like mid.
That was also a really good spell for Raducanu last year because I thought she did okay on the clay. Because Raducanu, I don't think is ever going to be doing great things on clay, but she got wins that she should maybe win and losses that she should lose, like Coco, I think, maybe in Rome, I think. Coco or Iga, I think, beat her in Rome. Yeah, but that was fine. You just get some wins. You're not ever going to win the French Open, I don't think so. So that's fine. And it was a good spell for her, that win over Anisimova in Miami. But, we had obviously a change of coach again, and she said that this is going to make her play better. And, well, we'll see. We'll see. Of course, you don't just look at one tournament, but unfortunately, Emma Raducanu's philosophy with coaches is to just look at one tournament, and I think that's a problem.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. So you just don't know what's coming next at the moment.
But it's not a bad section for her, given the form of Alexandrova, Cartel's injury issues.
Yeah, I was going to mention, if you do scroll down just that final subsection in the top half of the draw, it's looking great if you're just
Leylah Fernandez.
Who, yeah.
I'm just thinking Leylah Fernandez, Emma Raducanu.
It always has me thinking. And I got to watch, I don't know if I watched the full third set, but Siniakova versus Leylah Fernandez, 3.5 hours, final set breaker. And I at least thought that Fernandez is going to pull it off, but Siniakova goes up big in the tiebreak, and there was really no looking back. Then 2 days later, she comes out and beats Andreeva. So definitely I was not expecting that. But yeah, as I mentioned, if you're Jess Pegula, probably happy.
Yeah, this is nice, this section.
Yeah, you get to breathe for a little bit. Regardless, if you do play Venus Williams, great. Or you're playing Fran Jones.
Quick word on Fran Jones, Venus Williams. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was mentioning to Fergus, I haven't watched much of Fran Jones.
No, me neither.
So I still have some education.
Lost today in the first round in Indian Wells. She also played that Austin tournament where she lost to Peyton Stearns, interestingly, in 3 sets, bearing in mind what happened to Peyton. Where are we at with Venus Williams right now? I mean, yeah, I saw her in Austin, and she will go she'll have 5 or 6 service games in a row that are just unplayable, and that may well take her to a set. She had that incredible win over Peyton Stearns herself, didn't she, Venus, last year, which I think caught many of us, certainly me, by surprise anyway. And she can just blow someone away for an hour, and that's sometimes enough to win sets and maybe even matches. And it might take her to victory over Fran Jones. Fran's body sometimes is not always the most, solid. Actually, it broke
durable.
Down
I don't know.
Yeah, durable. She broke down on her this year in New Zealand, for example, giving Wong the walkover. She also gave a walkover to Klimichova, probably saying that name wrong, in Australia in the first round. So yeah, not great form. But I think I saw Fran last year, actually, in Werdash on clay.
Okay.
I think I saw her there, and it was I think she lost a tight 3-setter, but yeah, I mean, like a lot of British players on clay, that's not her thing, but this is so random, this match. That, like I say, if Venus just turns up for an hour, that's it. And almost anyone on the tour, she has an amazing hour. I mean, it was almost enough to beat Peyton Stearns in some ways, certainly over that first set. Was it Peyton Stearns or no, Tomjanovic? Sorry, she played in Austin. Yeah, sorry, yeah, Peyton Stearns last year. It was enough to beat Peyton Stearns. Yeah, although I think Peyton Stearns had a bad day at the office that day. But
yeah, well, funny enough you mentioned that, because I was really questioning this return of Venus Williams, and I don't remember what her first match back was, but I did do a watch along for that.
You did.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, fine. The return is justified. But
it's not justified, by the way. She gets a +1. She puts it away. The movement isn't really there, but it doesn't have to be mega. As I say, you only need to really play well for an hour, and you may well beat a lot of opponents, especially when you play as well as she can. If she's just unbreakable, and then she's also, hitting big at other times, as she was at times against Tomjanovic. I think she was up a break on Tomjanovic in the first set. She just couldn't quite sustain it. I'll go Fran Jones, but it's really just picking out I'm just tossing a coin.
Right,
Simply.
Me too. Who knows?
But it's a good section. It's a good section for Pegula, though, I think.
Exactly. I think that's the main takeaway.
Pegula might be eyeing the title, I think. Obviously eyeing the title, but with serious ambitions and maybe quite confidently.
Did Fernandez play well in Miami last year? Did she play Eala? Or am I don't know.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't play Eala, definitely. They've never played, actually. They don't really know each other that well, which is quite funny because I spoke to Alex in Portugal at the beginning of the clay season last year. And I was like, have you heard about these comparisons with Leila Fernandez?
Right.
And she said, well, I haven't really heard that before, but I don't dislike it. Leila's a great, great player and obviously US Open finalist. And we've met a little bit on the tour, but not much. Because sometimes I'd mention a player to Alex and she'd be like, yeah, I know her really well. Players like, who's the American she played doubles with in Portugal last year, who she beat in Miami, funnily enough. But not one of her memorable wins in Miami. Oh, Eala in Miami last year. I mean, obviously that's
doubles.
Yeah, she played doubles a few weeks later in she beat Kvolinets. Yeah, that's who she played alongside in doubles. And so there's players that she knows really well, and Solmez is a well-documented friendship as well, but Leila's not someone she knows especially well. But yeah, they didn't play in Miami a year ago, no, but I would remember that because I think the internet would explode with those two. Fernandez in Miami last year. I'm gonna have a quick look.
I just looked. She went out to Kruger round 2.
Round 2, yeah, beat
1-5.
Yeah, 1-5. Coming back to this draw anyway, I might go for Leila though. Might go for Leila getting to play Pegula and then Pegula beats her.
Yeah, that's how I see it, and maybe a
so Pegula Raducanu. That's what I'm going to go for.
Okay, I'm going to go with Alexandrova. A little flash of form. Last hardcourt tournament. Sure. Yeah.
All right, cool. I've got Raducanu. You've got Alexandrova. Great. All right, scroll down. Anisimova. I thought she'd lose to Mboko. She did. And my reasoning was that I just think that she's having a bit of a wobble at the moment. I think the Pegula thing is bothering her a bit, or at least the two matches. I actually thought she'd beat Pegula in Australia, and Murta Tunga said, nah, this is not a good matchup. And I think Pegula had won their previous matches, and I was probably going a little bit more just by my casual eye test with Anisimova playing so well in Australia until that match. And then it was a bit of a reality check maybe in terms of where Anisimova's really at. I think she's obviously still comfortably a top 10 player and may well be in Grand Slam finals again, not far down the road. But this is just a little wobble for me. And I saw it confirmed more so against Mboko as well, in that Mboko's just too solid for her.
Yep, that's fair. I kind of have that bias looming over my head watching her destroy Raducanu. Just like insane ball striking. I think she's fine, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's like, right, yeah, she'll definitely be in the conversation, finding herself deep into slams. Not much worry here. As I mentioned, I don't know if players circle this tournament being the last hardcourt tournament. As a
right.
master.
I bet they do. I mean, Anisimova is all right on the clay, but if you're Raducanu, if you're to some extent Rybakina, although who knows, she's obviously won Rome before, but maybe not Rybakina. But yeah, definitely, if you're a player who's great on the great on the hard courts, and Lerner Tjen on the men's side certainly springs to mind. You probably do circle Miami and go, you know what, it's going to be maybe Ben Shelton and maybe Amanda Anisimova, maybe Raducanu to some extent. Yeah, I mean, at least if you've got the grass to come, and I think Anisimova will cause it. And by the way, Anisimova, I think, is a French Open junior finalist, I think. But yeah, I think you're right. I think players maybe a bit further down the pecking order in particular, if they're if you're 30, 40, 50 in the world, but this is your better surface, you are circling it as being the last hardcourt tournament, really, for a while.
Right. So yeah, quickly looking at that, could have a good ball striking matchup with Tomljanovic.
Yeah, it's a goodish section, but when you've seeded 6, you should have a goodish section. And now I think about it, well, Books has won a title recently. Lise has shown some form. Tomljanovic too.
So. Well, yeah, Lise was hurt, and did she end up pulling out, or did she play last week? She lost either early, lost early, or didn't end up playing. She had the knee injury. So we'll see. Anyway, she should be fine. I'm kind of excited. I hope we get maybe like a Diana Schneider Anisimova matchup in that round of 16, but also Bencic is there as well. So we'll see. I'm not really giving Buxa that much of a go, just because it's a little slicker of a surface. But who knows? Form can take you, rhythm can take you.
Can do. But no, I'm going for Anisimova from this section. And
Agreed.
yeah, the next section, Bencic, I guess. It's a bit of a boring prediction, but yeah, Bencic for me.
Yeah,
Bencic,
I once again, Schneider would kind of be one of those hard court players, want to take advantage of the quicker surface while she can. But yeah, Bencic also playing great.
I'll go for Anisimova Bencic. What about you?
I'll go Anisimova Schneider because I'm talking about it.
Nice, I like it. All right, let's move down. Sorry, we're going through this a bit slower than I thought. I thought we'd be racing through this, but it's my fault probably.
No.
Okay, down to the next section. Oh, Noskova. It's her section, was the high seed here, but Mertens, Sakari can blow hot and cold. Kostyuk can definitely blow hot and cold. So it's an interesting section, fairly nicely balanced, I would say, actually.
I'd agree with that comment. Yeah, Kostyuk, like you mentioned, just like red hot just playing good tennis. Kind of in those weaker draws.
250 in Cluj that she won the tournament, of course. Yeah.
So
lost to Alex at Eala a couple of weeks later, and I was actually a bit surprised because I thought that she would just have a bit. I think the crowd might have got to her that day. There were some players that sort of don't mind all that stuff going on in the crowd. Like I think Coco Gauff in particular doesn't mind, but Kostyuk is someone that's probably a little bit more prickly than Coco. So yeah, but Noskova again, it's a bit of a boring pick for me, but I think her level is. I think she's a top 10 player. I mean, she's 14 seed at the moment, so she's so close to it. But she's such a good tennis player, such a good ball striker, such a good returner, but plays with some good margin as well. It's certainly something that bothered Alex a lot in their match recently. Unlike their match in, did you see the Le Petit stuff from Noskova and Alex Eala, which Alex Eala won 6-7 years ago? Did you see
I might have seen was it?
Do you know this Le Petits tournament, the sort of the junior thing?
Yeah.
I think it's probably a YouTube heaven as well in terms of. If I went down there and did some stuff, I think it would get great traction for many years to come. Sure. Anyway, I'll go for Noskova in this section, but I'll tell you what, Mertens is arguably the most solid player on the tour in terms of consistency. She beats players that she should beat and loses to those that she shouldn't, although she will often push them. Sakari, she's someone who we can't sleep on because of that run she had recently in the Middle East, including beating Iga, although Iga revenged that, didn't she? And I actually was a little disappointed that Maria couldn't push Iga a bit more in Indian Wells. I didn't expect her to win, but I thought, who knows, a couple of tight sets, but it was much. I think she went up an early break on Iga, and that was the end of it, really. But that she could certainly emerge from this section, but I'm probably going to go Noskova. I'm going to have a quick look at Noskova against Sakari head to head, but
I'm in the same boat. It feels kind of boring, but I did see Noskova lose here fairly early last year, so maybe a bit of redemption once again. Like very, very good. The slicker surface, like even though Indian Wells is slower and gave her a bit more time, like very good on the quicker surfaces as well. So. Yeah,
one each is the head-to-head between Noskova and Sakari, so not a huge amount to talk about. They're both on hard, but yeah, one each. But yeah, I'll go for Noskova to emerge from this one. And then if we scroll, are you going to go Noskova as well?
Yep.
And then if we scroll down, Coco Gauff. Is she fit? Do we know? Or we assume
I was surprised to see that, because we haven't really got an update, have we?
No, we haven't. I think because of how long ago it was obviously 7-8 days ago now that she withdrew or retired against Eala. That I think we'd have probably got an update if it was bad.
Right. She got an MRI, so
okay.
Within 20, less than 24 hours, kind of what you're dealing with. And
given
that he signed up and hasn't withdrawn, that's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Yeah. Let's imagine she's certainly playing anyway. And Cochereto is someone that she lost to in the Middle East in what was maybe the low point of her year, although depending on how bad this injury is, maybe the Eala injury or the match with Eala where she got injured might be. But I then saw her beat Mertens in a really tough match. And I thought, that's it, Coco. I think you've turned a corner here. And although she eventually went out to Svitolina in an exceptionally tight, but also a classic match, there was a lot of positives to come from that tournament in the end. And yeah, the double faults is still there, and they may never go. I don't know, but yeah, I think we're all right. I mean, Coco's not one of these players that wants to get things done on the hard courts because she's very adept on the clay.
Yeah, you're right. So definitely just monitor how she's feeling.
So I'll have her as well. I'll assume she's fit.
Yeah.
I'll assume she's fit, and I'm going to have her against Noskova. Boring picks, I know. Apologies for that, but I do go ambitious sometimes. Mira Andreeva, not in a great spot right now.
No, not in a great spot. The good news has like little to nothing to defend here. I remember she went out to.
Right, and
I could be.
I know it
could be.
So not a bad section. Buskova.
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it? This little section here, anyway.
Right.
So
it's definitely not too bad. So yeah, I don't know, but definitely like
but
I'm sure. I thought it was
time,
helpful
really.
that she played the doubles with Mboko and kind of got that. Oh,
okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
same
I
day.
thought that helped her kind of like just de-stress, like kind of remove herself. But there's a little cloud over her head, especially when you're that young and have that spotlight on you. Top 10 player, already a Masters champion. It'll be interesting kind of to monitor that first singles match back.
Yeah, I agree. But it's a nice little section for her, I think, and I can see her emerging. The next section, Kalinskaya is interesting. Mboko, really. Oh, Mboko against Mida. I feel like that Mida had a match point against her in the Middle East, and then Mboko won, right?
Oh, I can't remember as well, but yes, it feels like they've played each other a good amount.
They played each other in one of the Middle East tournaments, and Mboko was a down match point, and Mida didn't win that, and it was another rough loss for Mira. And I feel like she's had a lot of rough losses over the last since that Boisson match in the French Open.
Yeah.
She won Indian Wells, and then she didn't do well in Miami a year ago, but it didn't matter. She was on the crest of a wave. She was obviously winning matches in Australia before losing to Sabalenko, I think. And then she wins a 1,000 in the Middle East, and then she wins Indian Wells, and it's like, great, is she going to win a slam this year? We're way ahead of her trajectory. She's top 10, and then everything was great, really, and even the French Open draw was opening up a bit. Certainly that's not a bad, I think it was quarterfinal maybe against Boisson. So you expect her to win that, and I think she had chances in the first set, but was not quite solid enough. And then it's kind of unraveled a bit since.
Yeah, definitely just an interesting situation. Such a talented young player. So
but I've got her getting to play Mboko anyway.
Yeah, I like it too.
All right, Mukova. Again, she didn't really lay a glove on Iga. I think she lost 10 games in a row. I think she got to 2-2, and then was actually playing all right. I think I even said over the first 4 games that it was actually looking all right for Karolina. But then, and I said, at least she's got to 2 games here, because I think she won 2 games against Iga the year before. And I was like, well, at least she's got to that landmark, and then she didn't get beyond it. And I think I'm going to go for Towson in this section.
Yeah, I like it too. Player who will enjoy these conditions. I'm trying to remember what she did last year. I do remember watching her quite a bit, but I would have to look into it.
I'll have a look.
But yeah, good spot for her. Good spot for her. Could be a good battle between Muhova and Towson. But yeah, gonna have.
Yeah, I think it'd be great, especially early on.
That first matchup for Muhova might be a little difficult, no matter who wins it, Osorio or Siniakova. So.
Definitely. Yeah, if Siniak is fit as well, she's got a few questions over. This is Towson a year ago, by the way. Beat Grab and then lost to Badosa. But then Badosa withdrew, didn't she, later on in the tournament because she was due to play Eala.
Yes, back injury.
Yeah. So coming back to this draw anyway, I'll go with Towson to come up against somebody else. Let me have a quick
Somebody
look
else.
at the draw again. So I'm going to have to go back to the draw. Someone else. Who's in the next section? So I've got to delete a few windows. I've got so many windows open right now.
Yeah.
Who's in the next section that's sort of the big is?
The number 2 seed, Iga Swiatek, and number
It's
31
Iga's
seed,
section. Gotcha.
her first time
Oh,
being seeded at a Masters, right?
Alex.
Or I guess last week, but Alex
Yeah,
Eala.
Alex Eala. Yes,
Pretty,
so that is intriguing.
I think I'm losing you a bit on the Wi-Fi here, John.
They played. Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to close a few windows and stuff because I think it might help. But how Eala won a set off Iga on clay, I have no idea, but it happened somehow in a match I didn't see in Madrid. But yeah, that was wild. So Siegemund, by the way, I would love to see Siegemund against Eala.
Definitely would be interesting. Marathon match written all over it. How come? What like excites you about that? Just out of curiosity.
A few things. I think Siegemund against almost anyone is semi-fun or can be very fun, but I think the slicing and dicing from Lauda could be interesting. But the one thing in particular I'm looking forward to is to see how Lauda deals with the crowd, because I remember she didn't enjoy the Coco fandom at the US Open a couple of years ago in a match that was super tight and Lauda could easily have won it. I'm trying to think. That might have been the year that Coco won the title in 2023.
Okay.
So I'm very intrigued to see how that pans out.
I like it.
And I think Lauda's whatever is always a fun watch. But yeah, it could be. She's obviously at the other end of her career at this point, in terms of being in the twilight of her career. Alex is at that stage. She will run down that clock and force the issues and get in an argument with the umpire over being told to speed up, etc. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how Alex deals with that as well. I also think that Alex, we've often see her come up against huge ball strikers like Yastremska, who end up just not being, and that's a fun matchup as well, because eventually Alex frustrates them. And by the way, Alex, let's not forget, has her own weapons as well, especially on return. And that's a fun thing. What isn't fun is when Alex plays a Noskova or a Gauff in the form that Gauff was in the Middle East in particular, where they have that margin and they've also got big second serves that Alex can't really deal with. That's less of a fun thing. And the other thing that sometimes is less fun is when Eala is just struggling physically by the quarterfinals because she's put herself in such an awkward situation in the previous two matches. Whereas at least here, we know that she's going to be pretty fresh. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that potential matchup. And I think Alex comes through. I'd fancy probably even more so against Marcinko. And I think we're going to get Eala Swiatek. I hope as well in some ways.
I think we will too. And I hope.
Yeah. But then I'm having Swiatek to exact her revenge on Miami last year and progress.
I am as well.
I find Eala matches really difficult to predict. And I'm not just saying that in terms of someone who I know gains a lot of traction, etc. But I had her to lose to Kostyuk, right, for example. And Kostyuk obviously didn't beat her. I was sure that she'd lose to Coco, and that's what worked out. But I also had Coco to beat her in Indian Wells and was pretty confident about that position. Now, there was obviously the physical side of things, but don't forget, Coco was already losing that first set. And don't forget, it was the left arm of Coco's, not her hitting arm. So it wasn't really affecting her in those 8 games, at least to the casual observer. I think it was 6-2 that first set, something like that. And it was a kind of a surprise, even though she'd had some attention to it. So, and Eala was playing great and was worthy of winning that first set. But I then thought that she had a great chance. I think I was going to be really tough for her. I didn't expect her to get blown off the court like she was by Noskova. So, yeah, I find it really tough. But I think I would confidently predict Iga to win. And if Eala got the win, great, and you get things wrong. But yeah, and that would make Iga against Towson. So now I'm just going to quickly race through the last sort of few matches. You're going to have Towson against Swiatek as well?
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Sabalenka Zheng for me. Sabalenka Keys for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have Sabalenka winning that one?
I do.
Yeah, me too. And then we'll have Ostapenko Svitolina. I'm going to go with Ostapenko. We both got that one, I think.
Yeah. Once again, why not?
Sabalenka, Ostapenko, bring it on, please. They obviously played in the Stuttgart final last year, which was won by Ostapenko. She was in a real rich vein of form at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we've got Rybakina, Osaka. I'm going to go with Rybakina. It's a little boring, I know, but we'll go with Rybakina. And you two?
Yeah, as long as she's feeling good, like health-wise.
I think I've got Raducanu and you've got Alexandrova coming up against Pegula. Are we both going Pegula?
Yep.
Okay. And then I've got Bencic, you've got Schneider against Anisimova. I'm going to go Anisimova.
I am as well.
Okay, interesting. We've both got Noskova, Coco. I just want to have a quick look at their head-to-head. Noskova.
Interesting, yeah.
Coco, Gauff, because that could influence me. I feel like they played each other sometime last year in Asia, but I could be wrong. I know Noskova got to a final there. Yeah, Coco's won both of them. And we're just going to go on Coco being fit. They didn't play in Asia last year. I think they both had good runs in various tournaments across Asia, but never met each other. Noskova obviously played Pegula, I think, in a WTA 1000 last year. I think Pegula won that one. I'm not sure. But anyway, and the last one was in Cincinnati. It was 4-0 in Gauff's favor. But that was during that. Oh, and Indian Wells in 2023 as well. But that one in Cincinnati was when Gauff was just winning everything, including the US Open in the end. But I think I'm going to go with Coco if she's fit. Yeah, I'll go with Coco.
Yeah, I want to go Coco, but I'm going to go Noskova.
All right.
Just health question marks.
I'll go Coco. You go Noskova. That's at least we've got some change there. I'll go for Mboko over Mira.
Okay, I'll go Mira over Mboko.
Ooh.
Little redemption, yeah.
Okay. You've got Mira. I've got Mboko. You've got Mira. And then I'll go for. Oh, I tell you what, Swiatek Towson. Don't know. Swiatek Towson head to head. What's going on there? Let's have a quick look. Have you got any thoughts on Swiatek Towson?
Yeah, I guess Iga's just trying to extend the rallies, play as much defense as possible, frustrate Towson, get her head in a negative place.
And that can happen, yeah.
Yeah, just squeeze the margins. 2-1?
2-1. Yeah, 2-1 to Iga, yeah. When did Towson get that? Because I felt as though she had a win.
It
was in Montreal last year. Okay.
Was that a bad spell for Iga? It's
no.
always
She'd won Wimbledon. That was her first tournament back, I guess, after Wimbledon.
Yeah,
she
okay.
played Washington, for example. And she was on the crest of a wave, the wave that, to me, suggested she could well win the US Open, Iga, but didn't work out, of course. In Miami, I'll go Iga, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Towson won that, if that happens. But I will go Iga. Are you going to go Iga as well?
I am going to go Iga.
All right. So that means Sabalenka Ostapenko. I'll go Sabalenka. Are you going to go Sabalenka?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got, this is really interesting. Rybakina Pegula. I'll go Rybakina because she keeps winning against Pegula at the moment. But she obviously won in Indian Wells, didn't she, against Pegula as well as Australia? Yeah.
But like I said, Pegula was pushing her. It was close. Very just like a flat hitting contest from the baseline. Someone's, trying to get on top of the rally first. So should be a close one. I'll give Pegula a go on US soil.
Do you know what? I might go with Pegula as well. I've one of those two, I think, is winning the title. I'll go with Rybakina. All right. And then we've got, I think we've both got Anisimova. I've got Coco. You've got Noskova. I'm going to go with Coco to end up playing against. I'll go Coco and Mboko. Mboko to beat Iga.
And I'll go Anisimova, Iga.
Oh, completely different. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Anisimova versus Iga for you, and I've got Coco and Bocco. I'll go with Rybakina to beat Sabalenka. And
I'll go Sabalenka over Pegula.
Yeah, Sabalenka or Pegula. So I've got Rybakina in my final. You got Sabalenka in your final. I'll go with, what's the Mboko Coco? Head to head. Have they played?
Have they played?
I don't know if they have. Gauff head to head. So we've got Coco Gauff against Mboko. I don't think they have. I mean, obviously, Mboko's burst on the scene in the last 12 months. Oh, they have twice. 1-1 is the head-to-head. Mboko won the most recent one in Canada en route to the title last year, 1-4. And Gauff won the first one on the clay in Rome. Yeah, well, that makes sense. But, yeah, I'll go with a Rybakina Mboko final. And by the way, they've brought up some classics in the last 12 months or so. Your final will be Sabalenka against either Anisimova or Iga.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Anisimova, Sabalenka. Did I ever?
So Anisimova beats Iga, yeah?
Yep.
All right. So you got Sabalenka, Anisimova. And I'll go with Rybakina to get some revenge on Mboko because I think she certainly lost one of the two. I think they played each other twice, haven't they, Rybakina and Mboko? And there was a really tight one that went the way of it's 2-2 actually, the head-to-head. There was a couple of super tight ones that went Mboko's way. Yeah, in Qatar this year, Mboko won 6-4 in the third. In Tokyo last year, when Rybakina was just mega motivated to get those wins to get to the WTA finals, she wins in straight sets. Yeah, and in Canada, there was a super tight one that went Mboko's way, 7-6 in the third. And they've played each other 4 times in 7 months, all on a hard court, and the spoils are shared. And I'm going to go with Rybakina to win this one.
Wow. Okay.
So I got Rybakina for the title.
Gosh, it's a hard one. Why not? Sunshine double. Arena Sabalenka 2026.
Okay, so Sabalenka, you got beating Pegula, right? Is that right in the semis?
That is correct.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that top half is just a little stronger than the bottom half, just because of the Coco injury, because of the Anisimova and Iga form. They're the sort of heavy hitters there in that bottom half, whereas the top half, I think, has got maybe the 3 favorites for the title. And the 3 players that I said at the top of the show are the form players of the tour in terms of Rybakina, Sabalenka, and Pegula. If they were in different sections, if they were in different halves of the draw, I think they'd make the final. So I think if Sabalenka's in a different half, if Rybakina is in the bottom half, or if Pegula's in the bottom half, I think maybe Pegula beats Iga. And I think she beats Anisimova as well. So I think that's a tough top half, really, in a way. That means Pegula, for me, goes out in the quarters. But she could easily win the title. Anyway, I'll go Rybakina and win the title over Mboko in the final. And you've got Sabalenka doing the Sunshine Double. So thank you very much for that. I said we'd be 20 minutes. It was 1 hour and 20 in the end.
You know how these things go, John. We start talking and we go into our side quests. So thanks so much for having me. Good fun.
Time for me. And enjoy your Sunday evening, Brenna. And we'll speak to each other soon.
Cheers, John. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.